This will be our last panel discussion. It will be about important topic, emotional intelligence at workplace. I do believe it's one of the new trend for today and every day of every organization. This session will be moderated by a person who has a double major in neuroscience and psychology, and he is working as a learning and development specialist at Bobian Bank. Please join me in welcoming on the stage Abdullah Rabi'a.
And our next speaker will be Mr. Andre Vegas, who is the Learning and Development Manager at Jazeera Airways. A round of applause, please.
Our next one will be, she is working as an EQ assessor. Her major is coaching, mentorship, and training. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Fatma Yaqub. Join me, please, in welcoming the famous, exceptional, I do believe she interacted with everyone, she knows everyone, the Development and Communication Manager at KDF, Ms. Sarah Samad.
Excuse me, Andre and Ms. Sarah, can we?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
It's the only one, and
Yeah.
we're good to go.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My voice is clear. Thanks for joining us today. In the next couple of minutes, we will have a free dive into an insightful conversation on emotional intelligence. We will be discussing what emotional intelligence is, see the impact of emotional intelligence on the HR role, and also have a leap into the future of emotional intelligence and how it can shape the future dynamics of the workplace. With that being said, I would like to welcome my esteemed panel members that will be sharing their expertise with us today and knowledge with the questions that we'll be asking. So welcome and good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yeah. We start with Daniel Goleman, and that is the father of emotional intelligence. According to his book and his publication titled Emotional Intelligence, he says that we have two minds, one that thinks and one that feels. And that brings me to my first question. How would you define emotional intelligence and why it is a vital skill in today's workplace?
Masal al khair, salam alaikum. That's about of my Arabic. Right, so I would like to start with this question, and I'll make it as short and sweet as possible since it's the end of the day. Emotional intelligence is nowadays for me convincing my 2-year-old that he wants to eat that broccoli as much as I want him to eat it. It's my 2-year-old son believing that brushing his teeth before bed is as good for him as I want him to believe that it is. So emotional intelligence is a lot about a two-way thing. It's about me as an individual, and about the target audience, the person in front of me. So having that said, emotional intelligence functions a lot, and pardon me for using this metaphor, it's much like we are an oven of emotions. And if my wife was now in the audience, she would be laughing, thinking, he's talking about an oven like he knows what he's talking about. But nevertheless, we are an oven of emotions. If I want to make a delicious pastry, I need to understand what is the temperature that I need to bake that pastry. And remember, there are certain pastries that require certain temperature. If I make it hotter, it will burn it. While there are some other pastries at that same temperature, it will be underbaked. So our emotions need to function in the same way. They need to adapt in the same way. And just as a final note to this, the term globalization was coined in the 80s, in 1983. That means since the 80s, The term globalization is already a reality for us. 40 years after, in a more diverse, in a more inclusive environment, definitely we need to be more mindful of the person in front of us and the emotions that this oven that we have inside of us needs to cater to.
Thank you, Andre, for the great definition of emotional intelligence, of knowing our own emotions and the ones of others. And that brings me to my next question that starts with also Goldman's statement that states that IQ gets you hired, but EQ gets you promoted. And my second question is, do you believe IQ or EQ has a greater impact on success in today's workplace, and why?
Thank you for that question. IQ will take you to the first level of your career. You will need your technical level, let's say, and the technical knowledge in order to get into the career path. However, the more you get higher in the leadership or the career growth, you will need the emotional intelligence side, because you will need your relationship, your social skills, because the more you get higher into your position, you will have your team who will take care of all technical aspects within the work. However, you will need the social skills and the emotional intelligence skills. So one of the mistakes that happens usually in workplace, that when there is a conflict or when there is a decision, some managers will say, let's put the emotions on the side and let's have it as a pure thinking, and let's think about it in a critical way. However, this is not true. In emotional intelligence, we believe that emotions have certain messages for you. And decoding those messages is one of the leadership responsibilities. Reading people's emotions, scanning the room of knowing what emotions are present now and how we can decode and navigate those emotions and taking the right action and decision. So the more you grow in the career, the more you will need emotional intelligence. We believe that technical skills can be learned. And I think this is one of our roles as learning and development. We teach people the technical skills. However, the emotional intelligence skills, it needs to come from within. So you need to believe from inside that you need those skills, you need the emotional intelligence skills in order to grow. I can put you in a room and teach you emotional intelligence, but however, if you don't have the will from inside that you need those skills in order to grow and become a very successful leader, I cannot teach you that. So technical skills, you will know the need for learning it because you will need it for the day-to-day work. However, emotional intelligence need to come from within in order to put it in a practice. I hope I answered your question, Abdullah.
Yeah, thank you, Fatma. And Sarah, please.
I can't agree more, Fatma. First, I want to say marhaba to everyone, and I'm so honored and happy to see all these industry leaders. Is this working? Yeah. Okay. I want to emphasize on what Fatma just said. I can't agree more, Fatma. I just want to also highlight HBR, a Harvard Business Review article that I've read recently, and it shows that they assessed the IQ of the top CEOs, the CEOs of 10 of the 50 Forbes companies, and CEOs and some of the C-suite. Okay, they test their IQ level and they test the IQ level of the staff, middle managers and the other segments of employees. And they didn't find any indication that this person is there because he has a higher IQ. A middle manager could be more intelligent with IQ than the CEO or C-suite level. Then they made another assessment, which is on emotional intelligence, the EQ assessment, and there was a very clear indication that CEOs of these 10 or 50 companies of the Forbes companies, they found that they are around 23% higher in EQ than the other employees. And this is a very, it's a very strong identification that to be a leader, you have to work on your emotional intelligence, because as Fatma said, technical skills could be learned. And also EQ could be enhanced and learned, but I mean that as a manager, your job is not to do the job as much as to get the best out of your people, to know their aspirations, their motives, their weaknesses, their strengths, and based on that, manage them. So you have to read them well. So yeah, that's my.
Thank you, Sarah, for the contribution. And that brings me to the next question, which is considering the 5 core competencies of EQ: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. The question is, which one do you consider to be the most lacking in the current talent market, and why?
If I may, I
Sure.
want this question.
Please go ahead.
Okay, actually, from my experience, and I know we don't want to generalize. Everyone has a different experience. Everyone has different interactions. But from my experience, يعني if I can say it's not bad experience, I noticed, my opinion is the most lacking, scarce, and rare is the self-assessment and self-regulation. Empathy, we are raised in a way to be empathetic, especially I'm talking as Arabs. We have this empathy in raising and in culture and in mabisiru, it's okay. So I think we're doing well in this area, but the most lacking is the self-assessment. I've been training now for maybe around 19, 20 years, okay? And also my team, when I ask in any session, what do you think is your strength, weaknesses, beliefs, motives? People think. It takes them time. They're not aware of themselves. They don't know their strengths, their weaknesses. They didn't read themselves well. So how do I expect, if I don't read my own self, to be able to read people? So I have to understand me. I have to understand my emotions. I have to understand my motives, my values. Like any project, or let's say like formulating any corporate strategy. When we want to make a strategy, we have to have the tools of assessing our current situation. So I always tell my team, you have to do a SWOT analysis for yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. And there where you can start being able to know how to regulate and control your emotions and utilize on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. So in my opinion, it is self-assessment after it's self-regulation, and there are many reasons for that. Especially with all this fast-paced business environment that we're living, we are too busy to reflect. Mm-hmm. We're too busy to read ourselves and make an analysis. So we're so busy with the daily operational, even on the personal level, we are busy with our daily activities. This could be one reason. A second reason could be our cognitive bias. Like sometimes we overestimate our abilities or underestimate them. And I can see it a lot in Gen Z. They have overestimating of their abilities. Okay, and so we need to regulate that. Other things could be our ego bias. I don't want to distort the image of myself. I'm not honest with myself, because to have a real assessment of yourself, actually it needs a lot of honesty, a lot of openness to feedback, vulnerability, and also I can add to this, people don't have the tools. People don't have the tools on how to assess themselves. So as an HR leaders or in the industry, we have to provide these tools to people, to our people, whether it's psychometric, technical assessments, aspirational assessments, and from there we can work on it. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. And of course, sometimes in life, we need to take a break from life and assess ourselves, because the journey starts within. Before we analyze or profile anyone else, we need to know, are we tapping into our full potential in life or not? Excellent, thank you. Now, as HR leaders, they have to deal with sensitive situations on a daily basis as part of their role. So my question is, how can HR leaders model emotional intelligence to navigate those sensitive workplace issues effectively?
Actually, emotional intelligence is not only for HR leaders. I believe it's everyone's business. So when we talk about how we can reflect and be the role models. يعني usually HR leaders within the organization are the culture leaders, let's say. So if I want to promote a culture that value emotional intelligence and want to showcase what is the importance of emotional intelligence, we usually look into the HR because they are the ones that people will go for and want them to, to see it. And for example, if I have an HR who's not abiding to dress code, would I abide to dress code? Of course not. So it's the same case. But it's not only limited to HR because I will look into my manager and my leader as well in order to see him, does he practice emotional intelligence? So for example, if I have a manager and if I have a sales and every month my sales is very good and I have 1 month a drop in 1 month, if my business partner will come and tell me why your numbers are down, it's affecting now your performance. But on another way, if that person or that HR business partner have emotional intelligence, he will come and tell me, what's going wrong with you? Are you okay? Why do you think your numbers are down? So the difference of giving the question, having that emotional intelligence tool will make a big difference within the employee. And studies showed that when leaders are practicing emotional intelligence, there is a high number of loyalty within the staff because they will feel that they are connected with the leader and they are connected with the HR management. And I believe that will affect a lot. It's not only the empathy part, however, as Sarah said, self-regulation is very important. Know yourself is very important competency within HR. So for example, if I know myself very well, as Sarah said, I can read the other person. I can know how to evaluate the situation. Another important part is navigating emotions. One of the challenges in workplace is that sometimes people are stuck with certain emotion that the trigger was either from home or the trigger was in the work. So they get stuck with that emotion the whole day or maybe for weeks. So learning how to navigate those emotions and dealing with that emotion and regulating it, it will help also to teach that skill to other people. HR professionals are not only people who will manage your day-to-day leaves or your day-to-day training courses or just knowing what vacancies you have and the headcount you have. They're actual human resources coaches. They coach you through the day-to-day, the day-to-day practices and the day-to-day dealing. And our role as an HR people, it's more about the human side. It's more about building relationship. It's more about building the culture that will promote a healthy and will help employees to be more loyal to the organization and have that work-life balance. So if we practice the emotional intelligence, as Bu Ahmed said, walk the walk and talk the talk, we will lead the model for them to practice it as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your insightful explanation and answer. And actually, yes, people have a defensive shield in front of them that protects them subconsciously. So we need to build a safe environment for them to step by step remove that defensive shield and allow us to influence them and have that kind of emotional intelligence, also like just what Bu Ahmed said, to read other people's verbally and also non-verbally or para-verbally will definitely have a great impact. Now, my heads up for the audience, I have 2 more questions for my panelists, and then we'll be taking your questions. So please get them ready once we give you the room to ask questions. Going back, emotion is energy in motion. So we want to discuss how to navigate emotion after an emotional event. And my question is, what are the best strategies for managing and regulating emotions after an emotional event to ensure they don't navigate or negatively impact work or personal life?
Thank you for this question, actually, Abdullah, and it came in the right time. It's for me, actually, to remind myself of the right strategies in these difficult times. As a Lebanese, I think Lebanese people can relate here. We're passing in very difficult times due to this brutal occupation, whatever you name it. And so this will raise our anxiety, even if we were the most skillful, emotionally intelligent leaders or role models. I myself needed this question to remind myself of the ABCs of self-regulation. Because self-regulation is the foundation of the right decision making, is the foundation of the right problem solving. So it's very important. I'd like to talk about two strategies, or let's say immediate strategies and long-term strategies. Long-term strategies, we're all aware and we have time for having long-term strategies, but the most important, in my opinion, again, in these difficult times, is the immediate strategies. And top of most is breathing. Really, breathing is power, and we shouldn't underestimate the power of breathing. Me, myself, I didn't really believe in breathing. I'm not breathing well. Actually, we breathe like this. And this is not good breathing. Real breathing, regulation, emotional intelligence, work-life balance, work-life harmony, actually, is deep breathing. If you can just practice, you're breathing, I'm sure you're breathing short breaths. This is due to the fast-paced life and to the anxiety that's now built in us. So number one is deep breathing, and the science behind it and the logic behind it is that when we have deep breathing, it's chemistry of brain. The brain has enough oxygen, sufficient oxygen for it to function. So this is chemistry. This is not only theories, this is science. The second point I want to also highlight is when we have this deep breathing, we trigger or we stimulate the nervous parasympathetic system, the MPS. And this MPS system is responsible of the very beautiful mode, which is relax and digest. So when I have this deep breathing, I am stimulating this MPS. And this MPS is in charge of, again, relax and digest, opposite to the fight-flight mode that we get due to the cortisol hormone when we are under anxiety or when we are under any kind of fear. So mostly we talk about fight and flight. No, there is relax and digest. How? Simply by a deep breath. And this is science, this is psychology, this is the brain science. I think you know better. So breathing is very important. We shouldn't underestimate this strategy. And I use it with the people. I use it with laborers in our company. They will not understand when you tell them breathe. They will not. So I go every month, sometimes every quarter. I collect all the blue collars and we do breathing exercises. And they really, I hear their sighs after this exercise. They release this negative energy that they have. So breathing. Another logic behind how breathing can help is we talked enough about breathing. Let's move on to, let's say, I have to label my feeling. For me, I teach my daughters always, if they're like, I'm upset. No, you have to tell me exactly. Maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're irritated, maybe you're sad. So you have to know exactly what is your feeling and why. Again, I want to go to the science behind it. When I ask myself a question in the middle of the heat, I'm trying to shift my way of thinking from the amygdala, which is responsible for emotions, and I'm forcing myself to go to the prefrontal cortex to think. So because I have to give an answer. When I want to give an answer, I have to make a decision. And when I want to make a decision, I have to shift from emotion to logic, which is there. And this will shift me from this impulsive reaction. So again, this is the amygdala thing, is very important. I also believe in a very important strategy. We always say that thoughts decide our destiny, right? We agree. People who are in this industry and training and people development, they know that our thoughts decide our destiny. How I think leads to how I feel, and my feelings lead to my beliefs, and I act based on my beliefs. Now I play opposite. I try to hack my brain. I hack my brain. I don't think that, I'm stressed, I don't know what to do. No, I'm in control. I always hack myself and I say, I'm always in control. I'm the CEO of my life. I sit in the front seat. I'm not in the back seat. I have the remote control, and I will decide my reaction. So I always think that, yeah, it's my reaction. I'm in charge of my life, and this is a very good way to regulate my emotions. Moving on to, there are many techniques, so this is what come up to my mind. Also, maybe the long-term strategy is the work-life balance, taking care of yourself, taking care of your posture. Because, for example, let's make an exercise together. If one of the strategies for regulation is to change your posture. When you're angry, on spot, change your posture. When you change your posture, it will distract you, and take the posture of, I'm okay, I'm confident, I'm not deviated from my goal. Let's do this exercise. Sometimes we say, let's think, if I'm sitting like that, and I say, I can do it. I'm the best. I'll achieve my vision. How do you feel?
Yeah, definitely.
But when I sit the right way, I play with my posture and I say, I can do it. I'm capable and I'm able. So here I'm playing on my feelings.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
I totally agree that biology drives psychology, and also psychology drives biology. And with the amygdala, definitely we have something called the amygdala hijack, which is from a neuroscience perspective. You only have 7 seconds to deal with it. If you do not breathe properly, then it will take over. Definitely that's
4 seconds of breathing, 4
Oh.
seconds.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your contribution. Now that takes me to my last question. With Andre, please, we want you to take us to the future of emotional intelligence and how will it affect the future workplace dynamics. And if there is one actionable step that organizations can take from now to be proactive, to moderate and also accommodate that change in terms of emotional intelligence, what would it be, please?
So I would like to end with a very challenging statement, which I actually just got to listen to this statement 2 weeks ago. And I listened to this statement actually when I was watching a TEDx video, and it said by the speaker that ChatGPT is currently more emotionally intelligent than human beings. Let that sink in for a second. We are very worried AI is going to take the future, is going to steal our jobs, but it's happening now. AI is already more emotionally intelligent than the average human being. Speak to ChatGPT and mention one emotion that you're feeling. Talk to ChatGPT, frustrated, and could be any AI. The answer you will always get will be a highly empathetic, highly optimistic answer. And that means we need to step up our game. We need to do better now, not in the future. The workplace currently needs to change. And for that, I have 2 books that I would like to share with you. One, the highly popular 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. And he says in one of the habits, seek first to understand, to then be understood. Organizations, if you want to become more emotionally intelligent, understand your employees. And this is as easy as data analytics. We have so much data in our hands. Through performance evaluations, surveys, exit interviews, onboarding reviews, we know our employees. We know how they feel. Do we use this information to get to know what ticks them? What is part of creating this amygdala hijack? And the second book is a highly famous book as well. It's Principles by Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is a billionaire. And in this book that speaks a lot about decision making, Ray Dalio as a billionaire, so he knows about decision making a little bit at least, he says there are 2 steps to decision making. And the first one is a lot more important than the second one. The first one is to learn, so then we can decide. So the decision part is very easy. It's the action. It's the action to do something. I want to be more emotionally intelligent, I need to act on it. I need to have a conversation. I need to be able to be present in the field, talk to people, listen to them. But there is something to do in the lab, something to do in the study room, which is a lot more important before that action. Before I reveal my emotional intelligence, which is learn. Learn my target audience. Who am I speaking with? Who is going to judge if I'm emotionally intelligent or not? Because that requires learning. So my advice to all the organizations present here today is use data to your power, use it to empower your individuals, but more importantly, learn to use it efficiently and effectively in all manners, in all departments.
Thank you, Andre, for your amazing insights and recommendation. Now I would like to leave the room for any questions, if the audience have any. Please.
I just would like to allude to that we cannot control emotion. We manage emotion. So I would love to hear from you. Is it control or management? Personally, I do believe that it's managing. It's not controlling.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's managing. I have to acknowledge this emotion first. I have to acknowledge it, and then I can hijack and manage this emotion and decide on what reaction I want to have for this emotion. So yes, the emotion is there. I have to acknowledge it, and then I have to manage my reactions to these emotions. And here I would just like to talk about one book. I forgot the name of the author, but I forgot the name of the author, but it's one of my favorite books that helped me personally. I was passing through very tough times, the hardest times of my life. I thought I'm stronger than that, but I wasn't. It took me time to, it's okay, I can be vulnerable. It took me time to overcome it. And the bad news I got was in MBK class. I was teaching one day at MBK. I was training, and I received a very bad piece of news. And it took me time to overcome. This book helped me. It says, deal with any feeling as a guest. How do we deal with guests? How do we treat guests? We say, أهلا وسهلا. أهلا وسهلا. أهلا فيك. يعني, we're welcome. Bienvenue. I know you're here. I welcome you. I call you by your name. I don't say welcome. I say welcome, Fatma. And I give her the best place in my house. I serve her for 30 minutes, for 1 hour, for 1 hour and a half. But you can't sleep at my house, Fatma. I'm sorry. Yeah? I have a family. You have a family. So you will leave. So I acknowledge you. I give you time. And then I put you away, and I continue my life. And I think also we have to reframe our thoughts. يعني we say, and being positive, تفاءلوا بالخير تجدوه, إن خيرا فخير وإن شرا فشر. I think also this is part of the how we can manage these emotions.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, and also Fatma.
I think we can manage our emotions, but we control our actions. So knowing the exact emotion of where are you and what is the name of emotions, and one of the things that we say in emotional intelligence is name it to aim it. So name the emotion, the exact name of the emotion, because usually we have a very few vocabularies of emotions. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm excited, that's it, and I'm stressed. These are the four main common emotions named. However, there is a whole list of vocabularies of emotions that describe exact situation and exact emotion I have. So knowing your emotion will help you control your actions, not your emotions, because the aim is not to control my emotions. As Sarah said, I want to feel that emotions, I want to live it for a moment, and then know the message behind it. For example, if I'm feeling stress, the only way to navigate that emotion of stress is knowing what message stress is giving me. For example, if I'm feeling stressed now, the message behind the stress is that I have something new for me, and I need to get ready for it. So in order to navigate that emotion and control my action, that go ahead and do your homework and get ready for that. This is the action that I can control. However, emotions I can manage and navigate through the action that will come out of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for answering that question with great insights. Now we can have room for one last question.
I have one question. Now, I love what you've mentioned about self-regulation and also self-assessment. But I do also believe that you see people at the level that you see yourself as well. So having said that, I wanted to tackle something that is quite in-depth or embedded in our DNA, the differences between the emotions of a man and a woman. So sometimes men wouldn't be able to, that's why sometimes when we say empathy, you don't understand me. You don't know how I'm feeling, because then again, we are biologically different. So how can we, let's say men, be able to understand women better in the workplace and women be able to understand men in the workplace?
Andre, please.
I'll answer simply by saying that we need to remove those labels. We need to stop our unconscious bias. And that's very important to ensure that we don't enter the game with a strategy that is already wrong from the start, that we have a preconceived idea on gender or tenure in a company, or that we assume because of this the person will behave in a certain way, or this is why this emotion comes into place. And that's why it's so important that as an emotionally intelligent person that we always learn more about the individual in front of us, rather than have preconceived ideas on gender, on realities that we may be used to. Be more open-minded. And that starts from the things that already been discussed. Emotional literacy. How many emotions can we name? There are thousands of of names to emotions. How many can we think right now? 10, 20 at max? So it starts there, because that will lead into an emotional bank account. What emotions we want to feel more of, what emotions we want to feel less of. And when we think in that manner, we're able to know that people have emotional bank accounts too, regardless of gender. So my advice to situations as such is remove the label from the picture, look into the person as the person in front of you, rather than these bias that we may have. And I'm not saying that you have or anyone has, it's just that unfortunately we humans have unconsciously made those biases.
Yeah, thank you, Andre. And of course, having Fatma and Sarah with being famous with women empowerment, I'm really interested to see if they agree or they have something else to say. So
I
please.
would agree with Andre. It's not about the gender. It's more about the emotions that person is feeling. So a way that you can practice, either if you have a female in front of you or a male and you want to understand more how to behave, is to asking the right question. How can I support you? What are you feeling? What can I do in order to be there for you? Asking the right question without looking into the gender is the main concept, because emotional intelligence, I know it's one of the, let's say, stereotype things that females are more emotional than males, and males have no emotions, they think more logical. However, I've seen men that have a good balance, emotional balance, and I've seen females that have good emotional balance. However, the difference is that females are more open to discuss their emotions. However, males are not open. So it's not about who's feeling what and who's practicing what. Both have good emotional literacy if they wanted to practice emotional intelligence, and if they did apply it. Emotional intelligence is like a muscle. But with the practice, you can do better and you can understand people better. However, you need to start with yourself.
Excellent. Sarah, would you like to add?
Yeah, actually, I think we also, the reason goes back to men were raised in a way not to be able to express their feelings. That's how men are raised mostly. So you have a problem in some have a problem in really being vulnerable and expressing the feelings. But we cannot deny or ignore that there is physiological difference in the brain between men and women. If we read the book Men from Venus, or Men from Mars and Women from Venus, this was a lifesaver for my marriage, actually. It was a love story, but was going to end in the first year. Okay, so my husband bought me this book because I think he loves me and he wants to keep me. Now we have 4 daughters, so alhamdulillah, because of understanding how they think. But I, like someone said, everything should be intentional in the panel previous to us. Like, intentionally, I want to be emotional. Intentionally, understanding emotion and empathy. Intentionally, I'm going to logical. So again, I manage my feelings and I control and manage my reactions. It's intentional. I know when I am now over empathic or over emotional, I use the strategies we talked about. And the same thing when a leader feels that he's being too logical, he intentionally deviates to be more empathetic. And that's how I see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I hope, Mansour, you got a complete and overall answer to your question that you had. Now, by the end, I would like to thank you for joining our discussion. We have explored emotional intelligence and its impact on leadership and the future. I encourage all the organizations we have here today to gather all these insights and try to reflect on how they can apply it in their workforce. Big thank you to North Star Management Consultancy for having this event and bringing all of the HR community in one place. Also, big thank you to my panelists and the audience for their amazing engagement, and have a very nice evening.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.